I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of bankers, and I've seen a lot of cops. I've seen a lot of lawyers pull out all the stops. I've seen a lot of children with their parents in their hands. I felt a lot of women refuse to understand. Well, I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take the world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. You see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fire going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take for your money, whatever else bring. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. 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 Took everything that I had, yeah. Walked away, but you left one thing behind. You're wondering just what that is. Yes, you are. Well, the world stops spinning around, I'll be rocking. When the wall comes tumbling down, I'll be there. When the world starts spinning around, I'll be rocking. We're gonna make a little love down by the water. Maybe I'm the sun, maybe I'm a daughter when the music man calls. That's when I gotta play. So I burn for the things I never had. Sunny skies, the smell of palm tree air. Looking back, I could never feel fair. The way the music has touched my soul, the way that the South holds its control. But I've got a new way to choose. I'm gonna start running back to the lands of new. Oh, na 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 na. That I have lost my friend. Got the sunset off the highway again. Then I get lost on a long summer day. I must go back before it's too late. You're afraid, you're feeling alone. Time and space can never unfold. The holidays can ring in your fear. The ghostly embrace can only mean tears. And I've got a new way to choose. I'm gonna start running back for lands of new. Oh, na 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 na. Sitting at the lake, I'm feeling confused, but I had my guitar, so I played this blues. But I'm afraid, what might be true, that I might never be back again. Seems to me that I've lost my friend. Got the sunset off the highway again. Then I get lost on a long summer day. I must be back before it's too late. Before it's too someone to take me down at night, someone to make my day. New revelation fills my soul. Oh, I can waste away. You distracting my attention. You're all that's on my mind. You not looking for perfection, but you're too hard to find. Now the first night is coming, and I know what to do. You know that nothing feels sweeter than someone new. Where did my color go? Got your head in the sand. You can't be in control using a powerful hand. I wanna be ya, I wanna see ya. Don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late. You're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, hide a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue, yeah. All right. Cat learns to ring a bell. Rat gets free from the maze. We can be taught to love. We've got to learn the way. I wanna see you, I wanna be you. Don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late. Yeah, you're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue. Yeah. I wanna be, I wanna see, don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late, late. Push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Yeah, black and white and blue. You're going black and white on the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome for another Friday night. Scott showing the peace sign. And what's going on? How's it going, everybody? How's your weekend? Getting ready for the weekend? Everything going good?
Things are good.
Things are good? All right. Well, tonight we have with us we have a special guest tonight. We have Russell CROMAN from Russell CROMAN Astrophotography, and most of you will know his work on the show. We got about 20 people watching at the beginning of the show, and you'll know Russell from the maker of Star Exterminator and well, for the Photoshop Gradient Exterminator and Noise Exterminator for Pixinsight. So so we're super excited to hear what Russell has in store. And but before we get into that, we of course have to talk about all of our sponsors that allow us to kind of do what we do here and give all those lovely giveaways and gifts and all that kind of good stuff. So and I think I fixed the button so that you guys can stop making fun of me anymore. And there we go. So the first set of sponsors that we need to say thank you to is Woodland Hills Cameron's, and I'll give you guys the live view. So now you see the live view. Woodland Hills Camera and Telescopes and Night Skies Network. Congratulations to Edlin last week, who won the $50 gift certificate to Woodland Hills. So please look into your email, Edlin, regarding the gift certificate from Farah. So you're going to grab that. Nice job. And our next set of sponsors, and don't forget, it's 5 days away. We have the Prima Luce Lab Eagle 4 Super Giveaway. I mean, super pro. It's going to be massive. Tom Bramwell is going to be on the show with us. He's going to spin the wheel, and it's going to be a big deal. So come on and check us out this Wednesday. The next show, the 13th, is the giveaway. So be aware of that. We still only have 84 people in there, so it hasn't moved a click since I've started the media blast. Unfortunately, maybe we got everybody that actually watches us. So 84 people is where we're at right now. Camera Concepts, thank you so much. They're giving us $50 gift certificates, a bunch of them to give out from now until the end of the year. Optalong, we already gave out. We already gave out these guys. So congratulations to Jim F. This is the 1 1/4. I'm showing it on the screen like you guys can see it. You guys can't see it. The 5 filter set from Optalong, the planetary filter set, LRG. I'm sorry, not LRG. RGB UVIR cut and pass, 1 1/4 inch. So congratulations to Jim on winning that, and get into those giveaways too. Because we have the highlight of the giveaways from Optalong is that the 3 nanometer narrow band pass, the narrow band filters, we got a set. We're giving them away the last Friday in November, so it'll be a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holiday to somebody out there. So get on there, go to astroworldweb.com and sign up for the giveaways. Also, we need to thank Masters of Pixinsight and IP for AP, who have been also super generous with their donations of classes and yearly subscriptions and a whole bunch of stuff. We did a 10% off any classes when they announced their sponsorship to us, and we sold about 100 classes just for them. And it was pretty awesome. So we're thinking about doing that again, maybe if I can get Pete to do it, but we'll see. And of course, we can't do this without our member sponsors. We got the Black Hole members. We got 4 of them now. John, Bob, Charity, and Sean. Thank you so much for being a sponsor member on our Patreon. And if you want to join our Patreon, the links below. You get nice perks and T-shirts and polos and all that. So it's pretty cool. We also got I had to make more room. We got 2 more Red Giant members this week. So Mike Gibbs and Mark Ellis became Red Giant members on Patreon. So thank you so much. I'm Rob Clayton too. I'm sorry, we had 3. All brand new. So I got to get more shirts, everybody. So give me some time and you'll get your either T-shirts or your polo shirts, depending on what members level you're at. And our Protostar members, Kieran and Greg, thank you as well. Come join us on Patreon. If you don't want to join us on Patreon, join us tonight, where we have Russell CROMAN coming on, like we said, from the Exterminator series of plugins. So that's going to be really, really cool to get his perspective on what he's doing. We have no other guests that are scheduled right now, so we're getting ready to do our summer week off, which we have to talk about at the end of the show. But join us on our other social media platforms: Discord, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, whatever else is out there, whatever's on that list. Go check us out. But our Discord is now up to 70 members, and we hit a landslide. We hit a milestone tonight with YouTube. We hit 1,200 subscribers tonight. So thank you for everybody for the support. Thank you so much. And with that being said, Eric is here, so we're gonna go 5 up, and then I'm gonna go back. Buddies. There we go, and we are here, 1,200 subscribers tonight, Eric.
Wow.
Yeah,
I heard.
Telling you,
Like, holy cow!
I heard the woohoo in the background. I was ready to go to the Foursquare, and then you, you must have been eating.
Yeah, yeah. Late dinner. You know, you got to get that. You got to get that food in you.
Yeah. So we have Russell with us tonight. We got Eric to my actually to the left, my right, I guess.
Yeah.
This way is Eric.
Yeah. That way.
Eric joins us from a suburb of Chicago. You know, Pete. Pete is
over there.
over here. That Pete joins us from California, and I don't know, down there.
It's like the Brady Bunch.
Scott.
It's like the Brady Bunch.
Scott from Florida. I'm gonna start looking down, looking to the right. But yeah, we got people from all over right now. So thank you for coming and joining us, Russ. Appreciate you coming on and hanging with us for a little bit.
Oh, you bet. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, yeah, absolutely. And we're you know, I mean, some of us, some of the people in the chat, we actually have 33 members right now, so it's climbing. Usually climbs up till about 9 o'clock or so, and then it kind of they start saying spin the wheel for the prize, and then you know, then
they get impatient.
They get a little impatient. At least you know, if Sean Nielsen's on the chat, at least he can't make fun of Scott's shirt tonight. I don't think. Because
I got so much special stuff coming for Sean. It's not even funny, but we're not going to go there.
But let me say before we really get started, how much of a pleasure it is to meet Russ in person. I have started out with Gradient Exterminator when I was first started out with Photoshop, and it is such a cool tool to use when I was using it in Photoshop. And I cannot wait to get a hold and start using Noise and Star Exterminator. So really, really awesome to finally meet you in person. So
great. Likewise. Good to meet you.
Awesome. So, I mean, with that being said, you know, I mean, tell us, you know, for the people that maybe don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself to the membership, tell them what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, Russ CROMAN, RC Astro, and I am an engineer by training, electrical engineer. So for about 3 decades, I worked in the semiconductor industry, designing chips for cell phones, for car radio, for electric cars, Internet of Things, lots of different types of products, all you know, silicon design, actually designing the circuits in silicon and then fabricating those and getting them into production, shipping lots of them, that sort of thing. So all those little chips you see when you open up a device, that was folks like me and my team that were working on those things. So that's my background in formal training, and then I've been into astrophotography since right around 2003 or so is when I got into it. Walking through the mall one day, always was interested in astronomy, and there was some store going out of business, and they were selling off some telescopes, and so it was an opportunity to explore a hobby I hadn't yet, and got into that, and pretty quickly wanted to stick a camera on the back of it. I also done film photography, just like, you know, sports and news and stuff in college, so I had to give that a try, and then it was, as we all know. On this channel, it's, you know, down the rabbit hole. Once you get started, if you get a taste of it, you really want to just dive in and go further. And so it's been, it was hot and heavy there in the up until about 2006 or so. Built my own observatory up in New Mexico. Had a lot of fun designing that and automating it and getting it to work. Then my wife kind of complains a little bit that I'm a serial hobbyist. So I kind of go from one hobby to the next. And I took a bit of a break, starting in about 2006, 2007. About a 10-year break, actually. Didn't really do much in the way of astrophotography at all. And then I guess it's coming up on about 2 years ago now, just dove right back into it. Got interested again, got another telescope set up in New Mexico, not in my own place, but at New Mexico Skies up there.
Nice.
Little FSQ 106. I had never done any wide field northern hemisphere work from a dark sky. So wanted to explore that a bit.
So Russ, the question came across. So when you were going through that department store for your first telescope, what was that first telescope? Do you remember?
What was the scope? It was a Meade. It was one of their little Macs, a little 5-inch Mac. I forget what they called it, ETX something or other.
Yeah, like the ETX 90 or
something like that. Maybe it wasn't even 5-inch. It was one of those little tabletop models. Sit it on a picnic table and it can point.
Oh yeah, it had the 3 legs.
No, it didn't even have legs. It just like you just set it on a table. You could get legs for it, but but I was just setting.
I know they made a small one. Maybe it was the ETX 75. I think if I remember.
Maybe it was a 75.
Yeah, they made another one.
Anyway, it was a little Mac cast, and had fun with that, but pretty quickly got aperture fever and got an LX90, an 8-inch after that, and that's the one I stuck the camera on, and then the rest is history. But so got back into it a couple years ago. Have an FSQ 106 now in New Mexico and a 14-inch CDK down at OBSTEC in Chile as of last March or so.
Wow, nice.
All right.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun shooting the. I'd never shot anything in the southern hemisphere, so it's a whole new sky.
Yeah, we did about what was it, Eric? Like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. The Southern Sky Challenge.
Southern Sky Challenge.
We gotta bring that back, bro.
Yeah, we hooked up with Telescope Live, and we just we didn't ask him for a nickel, whatever. It was all financed by the group. And it was all donations. By the time all the donations were done, we had about, I want to say it was like $400 or $500. And we put it all into the Tarantula Nebula, and we got, I think about 6 hours or 7 hours worth of data.
We got quite a bit of time.
Yeah,
we got quite a bit of time.
Yeah, I kind of made some deals and did some half moon nights where they gave you discounts on the time.
Yep.
But it's narrowband, so whatever.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we did a challenge for that, and we threw out a prize for that somewhere. I forget what we did.
Yeah, we did. It was like one of our first prizes when we first, really getting into the prizes and stuff. And
that was the one. That was the one where we had a bunch of prizes. We had a first, second, and third. We had
third. Yeah, because we did $100 gift certificate. We did Masters of Pixinsight, or was it
no? It was just Ron.
Or was it just Ron?
It was just Ron. Ron donated 2 blocks of 2 hours of time, and $100 from Explorer, $100 from Camera Concepts.
That's right. That's what it was.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Russell, you just got started in the Southern Hemisphere. What has been your favorite target so far? Let me say, what was the first target you were really looking forward to in the Southern Hemisphere when you got your RC set up down there?
I mean, LMC targets in the LMC were kind of an obvious choice. So I just had, unfortunately, I've been so busy on the software stuff that I haven't had much. I've got so many gigabytes of exposures that I need to go actually process. But I just did a couple of weeks ago the Tarantula Nebula narrowband, and that was just a joy because I had never processed the data from that object before. It's a brand new sky to me. So that, and then there's some targets like in Sagittarius that are low for us in the northern hemisphere. M16, M17, stuff like that are, I mean, you can do them from here, but they're directly overhead there. And
exactly.
That's just, you're not fighting the atmosphere and the clouds nearly as much. So hopefully I'll get a chance to process the data one of these days.
I hear that. Awesome. I think Eric and I have a ton of data that we just haven't touched. It's sitting on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah, I've got at least close to half a terabyte right now, maybe even closer to 3/4 of a terabyte worth of just data that I haven't had a chance to get into because I've just been imaging, You just image, and yeah. So I can relate.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah. And now you're all, and so you also mentioned that you also have a remote site over at New Mexico Skies, the New Mexico Skies Enclave. So, which is really awesome, which is one of the places that attracted me to go to New Mexico.
Yeah, you went
so
there
I haven't had a chance
last
to go to the
summer?
Enclave yet. I went there last summer, but I never
summer.
made it over to Mayhill, or because I believe it's in Mayhill.
That's right.
Or near Mayhill, So I never had a chance to make it over there, but that's another spot that I am going to plan on heading over. Is head over towards that whole area of White Sand and Mayhill and Cloudcroft and stuff like that. So
yeah, beautiful sky there. Very dark, very dry. Typically, there is the monsoon season every year, so you do have to deal with that a bit. But the rest of the year, it's great. And they have been having a little bit of trouble, I think, like a lot of places in the U.S. with forest fires. There's lots of smoke. So a lot of times they'll just, if the smoke's heavy, they just keep the roofs closed just to not get any smoke on the optics and stuff.
Sure, no, makes total sense. Total sense.
We
have you had a chance yourself to hang out there for an extended period, or you just set up your rig there?
Yeah. So I went. I took my equipment up there and set it up. I think it was April 2020, and got it all running. Made sure it was automation was working well, and then came home and ran it. And then went back up again because two reasons. One, I wanted to switch cameras. I was out of the hobby for 10 years, CMOS happened, and I hadn't really caught on yet when I dove in. So I switched from a 16803 to a QHY 600. So I went up there to swap out the camera, and then spent probably 3 or 4 nights tinkering with image plane tilt, focal plane tilt.
Okay,
sure.
And flexure. And then I almost did a talk on that at AIC. This year, although I saw some other folks were covering that topic. So, but that's getting rid of tilt and flexure in an imaging train is I didn't find any here's your step-by-step guide on how to handle this.
Yeah,
so I just
kind of really
fumble my way through, but so I do like going up and getting my hands on the equipment and running it. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to Chile to set up my 14 because of COVID.
Right.
I can now. They're not on lockdown now, so I'm going to sneak down there one of these days and let some of those southern sky photons extinguish themselves on my very own retinas, as opposed to just a CCD or a CMOS sensor.
It's got to be awesome because I've never seen. If there's one thing, I only want to see one thing in the southern sky. I don't, visually, I just want to see one thing. And it may sound weird and it may sound small, but the only thing I really want to see is the Southern Cross. That I want to see visually. And, telescopically or photographically, I mean, there's, Dragon Savara and Tarantula and I'm going to butcher it, Magellanic Clouds, the LMC and the SMC, the whole thing, all that kind of stuff is Eta Carina. I mean, all that stuff down there is just awesome. And it's funny because we have somebody, a member, a contributor to the show, Simon Lewis, who lives in New Zealand. And he keeps on saying that he wants to see stuff in the north, and we're all looking at him like, why? Why? To me, the southern sky, maybe it's because I don't get a chance, or none of us really get a chance to kind of do any long-term kind of visual, or unless if you have something in Chile or somewhere in the southern hemisphere, or you rent time and you live in, the US or Canada or anywhere in the north. Maybe it's just jealousy of stuff that you don't have. You covet what you don't have. And,
it's probably a little bit of the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, right?
Yep, absolutely.
The sky's always dark in the other hemisphere or something. I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, it's definitely darker in the south from what I've heard. But, we just tear it up in the north. We just leave the lights on 24/7. But
yeah, for sure. That's it. Yeah, we always leave the lights on. Light pollution just kills us up here in the north.
yeah, so
yeah.
why don't you give us a little rundown of you know your plugins and what's going on and what's coming up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't really cover the historical part of that, but so rewinding all the way, actually before going to engineering school, software was actually kind of my first love. As a kid, I think I was 16 years old, my folks got me a Commodore 64, if anybody remembers those.
Oh yes, the 4 buttons.
Oh yeah, and that was really the that and the anybody remember the TRS-80?
I do.
Oh, the Tandy? Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
Tandy. Yeah, my best friend's dad had a TRS-80, so I learned how to program that a little bit, and then I got the Commodore 64 and tinkered with that and learned how to program it in assembly language. And so I'd always been interested in software. And then, you know, many years later, I have a telescope. There's a camera hooked onto it. I'm running it through some software. Gosh, I wonder if I can make something to remove these darn gradients, because those are a real pain. And so the idea for Gradient Exterminator kind of cooked around in my head for about a year, just thinking about, okay, how would I attack that problem? What would the algorithm look like? Just kind of thought about it in the back of my head, and then sat down and wrote that in about a week after that. The core algorithm. There's a lot of other stuff that goes around it to make it a plugin that's easy to use and stuff like that. But did Gradient Exterminator, and then a few years later did Star Shrink, which is another one. That one's a bit long in the tooth and is due for an update. But then didn't really work on any more software other than, you know, keeping stuff up to date and fixing the occasional bug until, what was it? Last September is when I came out with Star Exterminator, and I had started working on that in May of last year.
Wow.
And then it was ready in September. And this is while I was still working at a day job, so it was really just kind of nights and weekends kind of thing. But I didn't know anything about AI when I started on that. And so just kind of dove in and started learning about that. And fortunately, there's, you know, Wikipedia and YouTube and Google I mean, you can learn anything these days. It's amazing. You know, it helped having an engineering background and a software background to pick that up. But yeah, really just kind of picked it up. And so yeah, developed Star Exterminator, came out with that in September, and then right after that, there was a number of updates that came out to it, like continuing to improve the AI, training it even better and on more images, so it could handle things like, you know, if you've got H2 regions in the spiral arms of a galaxy, you don't want those to be removed, stuff like that. And then after those updates, I decided to just start tinkering with removing noise from images. And it started out as a total experiment of like, well, okay, now that I know a little bit about neural networks, how would I train one? And it turns out in AI, I kind of covered this in the talk that I gave at AIC and then again on Masters of Pixinsight, that the actual architecture or structure of the neural network doesn't matter as much. I mean, there are smarter things to do and dumber things to do in that, but it's really the training data. What are you going to show this network? How are you going to show it what it needs to do? How are you going to give it the training data to, you know, if a better teaching, you know, a better teacher creates better students, right? So same principle. So I just started tinkering around with like, how would I even train a network to do that? And just tinkered with stuff, and then trained the network for, gosh, it was running for a month. And this is on 2 high-end GPUs that like melt the chocolate in my pantry when I'm training a neural network. I mean, it's like the computer, it like burns 1,000 watts when it's training that.
Yeah.
Two high horsepower GPUs. Let it train for like a month, and it wasn't doing, in the first few weeks, I couldn't tell it was doing anything. It didn't learn a darn thing. But neural networks are tricky that way. You just have to let them train sometimes. And then after about a month, I was like, oh, actually, this is starting to do something interesting. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just let it train. I go work on other stuff, and I just let it train in the background. It just runs all night. And then after about 2 months, it was like, oh, okay, this is getting to the point where I want to use it in my processing. And that's my test. If I want to use that tool, then I figure maybe other people do too. So then it was time to wrap it up into make it a Pixinsight module, make it a Photoshop plugin, and stuff like that. So, and I put it out for initially just for beta test, and that was honestly just a beta test. It was like, well, this looks interesting to me, but I've been looking at this for 2 months, so let's see if anybody else finds it interesting. And yeah, it was received enthusiastically, which I'm very appreciative of. It's kind of taken off. So I'm really, really, really pleased about that. The number one goal I have is to make something that's useful for us, for astrophotographers. And if that can be accomplished, then we're all happy. So
speaking about moving forward, Josh, one of our watchers, asks, and I know this is something that was brought up at Masters. Is there any plans to bring Gradient Exterminator to Pixinsight?
I get asked that a lot. I get probably 2 or 3 emails like that a week, and there aren't any plans currently. And I had kind of dismissed that early on as far as like, what do I do for Pixinsight? And the reason is because I think it's because I'm spoiled actually by the dark skies that I shoot. Because Pixinsight has pretty decent gradient removal tools already, ABE and DBE. DBE is what I usually use when I'm starting in Pixinsight, and it's not bad. Occasionally, I will need to take a tricky image and move it into Photoshop and clean it up with Gradient Exterminator, though. So there may be some merit to these requests, but the biggest reason why it hasn't happened yet is Pixinsight does not have the selection tools. The way Gradient Exterminator works in Photoshop, and the thing that it really leverages in Photoshop is all the selection tools, the magic wand, the select color range, stuff like that make it easy to select, okay, this is a piece of background over here, this is another piece of background over here. No, that's a faint, star stream from the galaxy. I don't want you to flatten that out. You can do all that really easily in Photoshop. In Pixinsight, because of it's actually a philosophical thing about Pixinsight. They don't want you painting. So they don't give you tools to select this and then just manipulate that part of the image. So that's really the primary reason it hasn't happened is there's no selection tools. So I am giving it some thought. There may be an AI approach that could work. That would be tricky, but I have some ideas on how. Then you wouldn't have to select anything. You just say, please fix my background, and it would just go do it. And or come out with a set of selection tools for Pixinsight. That would be another option. I might get banned by the Pixinsight folks for that.
You may. Sean at Visible Dark is online asking a question. He would love to have an overview of how the AI actually works in the plugins for Pixinsight.
Oh yeah. That's the AI is exactly the same for Photoshop and Pixinsight. The neural network is identical. That's really what my talk at AIC was about. That's a little bit too much to go into probably in the time that we have, and I've got a whole presentation that I did at AIC on that. That's available on the AIC website. So if you search for Advanced Imaging Conference, there's a digital library on there. You need to create an account to access it, but it's free. And then you can watch the whole talk and pause and rewind and all that jazz. But it basically just crunches a lot of numbers. It takes an input image, it crunches a bunch of numbers in ways you might not expect, and then spits out an output image. And I mean, that's really all a network is something that just crunches a whole bunch of numbers. And how it crunches those numbers and what it does with them is what the training is about. So you train the network to learn all the different adjustable parameters that are inside the network to do its task. And for Star Exterminator, for AI 10, version 10 of the AI for Star Exterminator, there's 21 million parameters individually adjusted. You know, that's during the training process.
Wow.
That's what you're doing, is training all 21 million incredible. Of those. Yeah, and the next version of Star Exterminator is actually substantially less. It's about 16 million. But if you look at the actual architecture of the neural network, which I go over in that talk that I did, it's the same neural network, basically, the same structure of all the different math operations as StarNet and Topaz, Noise Exterminator, Star Exterminator. They use very similar neural network. It's the architecture itself isn't all that important. It's the training data, how you train the network to learn its task, and
to learn
and yeah, and like how, like when you stop training, like how accurate does it need to be before you call it done? That's a decision that has to be made. So so yeah, check out the talk from AIC that goes into great detail on that.
It's just incredible just to think about, you know, your use of this neural network and AI to help to help it learn, you know, this, and to, you know, learn, and it just amazes me. It blows my mind how it still
amazes me too. And I like the latest version of Star Exterminator. It's a brand new neural network architecture that does have some cool tricks in it, but I'm training it from scratch. So it starts out with, you know, I'm showing it an image with the stars and an image without the stars, and scoring it on how well it does, and then, you know, say bad network, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Remove. And then you rinse and repeat for, like, it's actually running in the background here. It's up to 530,000 iterations of that same, you know, show it the input and show it what's
of that same image. Do you use usually the same image, or I'm sure you use different ones? So
it's a big collection of them. Yeah, you want it to generalize. If you just showed it the same image all the time, it would do a perfect job of removing the stars, but only in that image.
But only in that image, right? Exactly.
Right. So you have to show it lots of images and variations, like rotating them and changing the brightness and stuff like that, so that it can learn to generalize. And it still amazes me watching it when you first start it. You know, it produces garbage at the output, and then you slowly start seeing it learn. Like, it'll start going, oh yeah, it's starting to remove the stars. Now initially it just turns them into like black holes. Then it takes a long time for it to learn what to put in the star's place. But it's fascinating watching them learn. And the talk I did at AIC, actually, there's one slide where there's a video where I actually recorded it learning, and you can watch it figure out what it's doing and figure out how to do what with different size stars and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
And just if anybody wants, I just threw Russell's website in the chat, and it's scrolling across the screen right now. So so if you want to go check out what he's got going on his website, go check it out. But don't purchase anything yet. And we got to you got to hang out till right. And we're not going to tell you when Russell's leaving, so you got to watch the whole show. So Russell's got something to say at the end of the show, but
Al Need has a question, and I from what I was reading about Star and Noise Exterminator, I kind of get the idea of how this can be used in a workflow. But I'm going to let Russ answer the question. How he wants to know, does Russ have a recommendation on when to use Noise Exterminator in the workflow?
Yes, I do. And the general answer is as early as possible in your workflow. You know, once I would say obviously after integration, after color channel assembly, and after color calibration. If you're doing an RGB image, you're going to do photometric color calibration, something like that. Like, get things in good shape. The current version of Star Exterminator does not handle, like, if you in Pixinsight, if you unlink the RGB channels and do a screen stretch, your image will look kind of color balanced, but the background levels are still out of whack. in the underlying data. And Star Exterminator doesn't handle that well currently. That's one fix that I'm coming out with in the next version. I just did that fix for Noise Exterminator. There was a new version released, what, a week and a half ago, something like that.
Yep.
And that handles that. So you can now unlink the RGB channels in Pixinsight and run Noise Exterminator, and it will handle it just fine. But generally earlier is better. I will make but one thing to know about both Noise Exterminator and Star Exterminator, to process linear images, neural networks don't like linear images. They like their inputs in very well defined ranges. And they like the histogram to be kind of equalized in a sense. So internally, to handle linear images, both Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator, and the same trick is applied, by the way, for StarNet. There's a stretch that's done internally. So it takes your linear image, does a histogram transformation to get the levels kind of spread out between 0 and 1, the histogram more equalized, does its thing, either removes the noise or removes stars, and then reverses the stretch, puts it back into a linear state. So both tools do that. So the reason I mention that is Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator handle nonlinear images just fine. In fact, that's all they operate on, is images that have been stretched. So there's no problem waiting. The main reason to process a linear image before you stretch it is if you have a noisy image, the spread in the pixel values of those background pixels, the dark pixels, can be really large. It's got you're seeing the Gaussian or the Poisson distribution of your background pixel values there because it's a noisy image. And it can be sometimes hard not to clip the bottom end of that histogram. If you do a noise reduction first, even if it's just a little bit, 20%, 30%, something like that, get the range of pixel values in the background areas compressed a bit, then you can more easily do your stretch without clipping the background values. So that
makes sense.
That's one reason to do it early. One other, if we're talking about using both Noise Exterminator and Star Exterminator on an image, and say you're going to remove the stars and do some processing and then put them back, it's much better, I've found, to run Noise Exterminator after Star Exterminator.
Yeah.
Star Exterminator. And the reason is if Star Exterminator leaves any little doodad artifacts around stars, Noise Exterminator cleans them up really nicely. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
That's awesome. Josh had another question. What is the best way to submit images for training? I've noticed that Star Exterminator sometimes misses stars or leaves some remnants.
Yeah, email me. I've had lots and lots of people send in images where it's from a different instrument where the stars are a little funky. I had one guy send an image in from it was using a Nikon camera lens, and it looked to me like it was stopped down a little bit.
Okay. And
so the glare, the scattered light around the bright stars was an odd shape. It was and it was not the same across the whole image. As you got to the edges, you could see that the aperture stop was actually starting to shadow some of the glare around the star. And so Star Exterminator said, "No, it looks like a galaxy to me."
Leave it alone. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not round. It doesn't have symmetric. There's no symmetry to it, and so it just left it. And he sent this to me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, those are some funky stars. Thank you for the image. I'll include this in the training run." So
absolutely,
yeah, send me an email. You can, if you don't have my email address, which you would have if you ever even requested a trial of the software, you'd have my email address. Just send an image in that. Happy to have them. And thanks to, lots of people have submitted them, like I said, and thanks to everyone who's done that, because it's made the tool better for all of us.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking here.
That sounds an awful lot like what we do, Dan. Everybody helping everybody else.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how we started this whole thing, just because a bunch of us just got together, and the prodigal son Jason, who was one of the I guess the original 3, you know, well, no, actually the original 3 was me, Eric, and Tim, if I remember right.
And
Jason
Jason
came in after Tim kind of left.
Yeah.
And then Scott joined, and Peter joined, and Simon joined, and I can't forget Tyler, who kind of is doing his own thing now with the War Sign. Tegan. We got 9 people that are in and out of the show, back and forth, you know, and come. The main people that are on pretty much every week is what you're seeing. Well, twice a week, is what you're seeing right now. So, you know, it's been a lot of fun, and you know, I mean, right now on a Friday night, I saw 43 people. So, you know, so 43 people watching the live stream. You know, and I'm expecting this live stream to hit probably 400 or 500 on the replays. You know, so.
Al has another follow-up question. If you guys don't mind me hopping in here.
Absolutely.
He's asking, is the neural net a black box in the context of why does it do what it does?
Absolutely. Yes, it is. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And that is true of pretty much every neural network. And I actually talk about this a little bit in the AIC talk. There is a big observability problem. That's what they call it in the industry, an observability problem with neural nets. They're crunching all these numbers. You know, it's 21 million different parameters being crunched in who knows how many different ways to come up with some output. Why did Star Exterminator remove this star and not that star? Now, for a particular case, if you had one image where it was doing something funky, you might be able to trace it back to like, oh, it's this set of parameters. You know, it's this 50 parameters out of the 21 million that are really making the difference there. Maybe you could trace it down like that. But then what do you do to fix it? If you twiddle with those numbers by hand, you might be able to fix that one case, but you'll break 7 others or 50 others. And this is true of all neural networks. There's really only one. You might be able to do that. It would take months at best to fiddle with it by hand. But the best solution, and the solution everybody turns to, is you just do more training. You train the network some more. So in the example that I gave of that Nikon camera image, well, I had a Star Exterminator, a network for it already. I simply added that gentleman's image to the training data set and trained the network some more. And after a day or so, it was able to recognize those funky stars with the chopped off halos. So yeah, you just do more training. But that's, like I envy people like, or I don't envy people like, or outfits like Tesla. I mean, they're doing stuff that, like, this could be life or death, you know, if this neural network malfunctions. Like, bad things could happen.
Well, everybody in the chat has been talking about StarNet and Terminator and a whole bunch of stuff. So people in the chat.
As in
Skynet.
Skynet. My bad. Skynet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting. One of the things that kind of hit me after, as maybe 5 or 6 months after just, you know, starting to work on neural networks, and I didn't know them before, like I said, but after 4 or 5 months of training these things and seeing they do amazing things, but they're not intelligent. Artificial intelligence is a misnomer. They don't think, they don't know what they're doing. They're just crunching numbers, and they're not going to wake up one day and
you don't want them to.
There are many researchers that do, for better or worse, and I just want to ask those guys: did you not see the film Terminator?
There's a lot of
that is a rabbit hole you do not want to go down. You don't want those machines thinking for themselves. That's a bad place to be.
No.
It's
Absolutely.
a bad place to be in multiple books.
I do not want the Whopper sitting in, sitting there at Crystal Palace.
Whopper. I'm not even worried about the Whopper. I'm worried about the Butlerian Jihad. That's what I'm worried about. Oh God! But we digress. We digress here. So
Yes.
there were 3 people that were echoing something in the chat. I believe it was Dave, Al, and Sean Nielsen from Visible Dark. Many people are saying that they find that they somehow get better results by applying Noise Exterminator after the stretch. Now, is there any downfall to doing it after the stretch, since it kind of does a stretch on top of the stretch, I guess? Or
yeah, it's, remember, like I said, it's doing its own stretch and unstretch internally when you process a linear image. So there's really not a downside other than on very noisy images. Like I said, it can be easier to accidentally clip the background pixel values because of the spread and in the background values. But yeah, there's really not a downside. My typical processing flow when I use it is I do a little bit before the stretch and a little bit after the stretch.
Okay,
that's the typical flow. Yeah.
And Josh is just coming out with the questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've also noticed that Star Exterminator doesn't work well on my images if I drizzle. Is there a reason for that, or something I should be doing?
There's something that he should be doing is sending me an example, because then I can include that. I have a training run going right now. There could be something funky about drizzled images that throws off the neural network. I'd be happy to include, especially an example where where Star Exterminator is currently not working well, where it's missing stars or removing things that it shouldn't, or doing anything else funky. If you have an example where it's misbehaving, I'd love to see it and include that.
Hey Russ, what is your email address so I could throw it in the chat real quick so I could?
Yeah, so it's RCROMAN, RCROMAN.
Yep.
RC-astro.com.
Got it. And that's in the chat right now.
Maybe we should just go ahead and add him as a de facto member right up on the website, so people can just go right there and get it whenever they need.
There you go. We could do that. We could do that.
Yeah, never know. Yeah.
And well, I'll save. I almost let the cat out of the bag, so I'm going to be quiet. So Pete's raising his hand. Pete's why is Pete quiet?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Pete. That's why. I think he's muted. There you go. Now I can hear Pete. There we go.
Perfect. Russell, can you repeat what is the procedure sequence? You had mentioned that about 10 minutes ago. What you would recommend is the procedure sequence, if it would be, say, Star Exterminator first, followed by Noise. What was that again? I'm going to write this down.
Yeah. I mean, doing a little bit of noise reduction prior to, say, a stretch is no problem, but I recommend running Noise Exterminator after Star Exterminator. Some of this will be addressed in the next version of Star Exterminator, but Star Exterminator at the moment does not do particularly well on noiseless images. I mean, it removes the stars, but if you go look at where the stars were, there's actually noise there now. So the new version of the neural network that I'm training is going to handle that. It was just never trained on noiseless images. It's like, I don't know what to do with this. There's no noise. So it actually ends up leaving a little bit of noise behind. In addition, if you're removing stars late in the game and you've done any sharpening and you have any sort of kind of artifacts, like where the core of the star is saturated, you get some funky star profiles. You get a little white circle in the middle of your star.
Yeah, like a little bit of ringing and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little white circle in the middle, or like kind of with a hard edge. And if there's any ringing from deconvolution or unsharp masking or anything like that, where you get a little bit of a dark halo around the star, Star Exterminator was trained on those stars, but that's a harder problem. And what I find is that the network will leave behind little traces of those sharp edges, around that little white core. If there was a particularly dark halo, it'll leave a little. You'll see this little ring of pixels where it left behind a little artifact. And Noise Exterminator cleans those up really well. So that's my recommendation.
Nice.
Okay.
Hence why to go with that procedure.
Yeah, to go with that process.
Josh has another brilliant question. I believe this is his 5th one tonight. So any news on the Cloud Exterminator?
Love it.
Josh,
Well,
you are a noble man.
Theoretically, we could get AI to the point where you just kind of wave your iPhone in the direction of the target you're interested in, and it just pops out an APOD for you.
Nice. Yeah.
There it is.
The APOD maker.
Yeah.
You would definitely be a steely-eyed missile man.
Yeah, right.
Cloudy images are tough. There's a lot of scattered light, and that's a hard problem.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what I teach the guys that I you know, with landscape photography and so on and so forth. They think shooting, you know, when it's cloudy is a bad thing. I said, no, it's not. It's not a bad thing at all. The clouds are a giant softbox. Come on, utilize it.
Yeah.
They pretty much are.
I'm just curious, Russell. Is it possible for you to demonstrate? Do you have any images right now that you could demonstrate noise to our viewers? Noise exterminator and star exterminator, maybe in Pixinsight or in Photoshop, for people who may have never really don't understand or may have not seen what it can do.
Yeah, I don't have anything prepared. I'd have to go poke around in the background a little bit while y'all talk about other stuff, but I can do that if you want. Yeah,
it was just an idea.
There's a reason, right there. There's a reason to have him back again.
we could do a live demo, and by that time the new version.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
That would be great. Yeah. Maybe we can reserve that for another time when the new version's out. So for sure.
When do you anticipate that happening?
Well, I had hoped to have the new AI. So I'm working on AI version 11. Version 10 is what everybody has right now.
Right.
I'm working on AI version 11. It's like I said, it's a totally different network and retrained completely from scratch. I had hoped to have that done by the end of June, but training neural networks kind of takes as long as it takes. And I had a version of it that was just about ready to go, but there was a couple situations where I didn't like what it was doing. And I think I figured out what the architectural issue was inside the neural network, but that meant I had to restart all the training from scratch. So gotcha. it's been from the ground up. I hope within the next 2 weeks, the new version of the AI will be out.
Yeah, maybe sometime after Labor Day or something.
Yeah, so maybe
just come on back.
Yeah, there's also a new version of the module itself, the Pixinsight module, and the Photoshop plugin coming out. So there's the neural network, and then there's all the stuff around the neural network that makes it work. Breaks the image up into tiles and figures out how to feather those together and stuff like that. So there's a new version of the module coming out that has a bunch of improvements.
Nice.
One of the most significant ones and relevant right now because there's a comet, the Pan-STARRS comet that everybody is shooting.
Yeah.
So the next version of the Pixinsight module for Star Exterminator will have a batch mode. So a really good way to process comet images and not have your star trails and stuff like that is you separate the stars and the comet in the before you do the integration.
Mm-hmm.
And then you integrate. You register on the comet, then you register on the stars. You create 2 images, then you can put them back together.
Got it.
You get sharp stars and the sharp comet.
Nice.
I walked through that in the AIC talk, but it's a pain right now because in Pixinsight there's no way to just have a folder full of files and run them all through a Star Exterminator and get both the starless and the stars.
Got
images.
it. Yeah.
Now you can only get the starless images using an image container in Pixinsight. So I'm building a batch mode into Star Exterminator where you just select the files and you say, go stick the results in this directory, and it'll give you the starless and the stars only versions of every one of those files.
Nice.
That'll be really
kind of like what they were. It's kind of like what they're doing with the nebula, where they'll pull all the stars out of the nebula, then they'll adjust all their color and so on and so forth in the nebula, and then drop the stars back in again.
Yeah,
for doing moving things like comets and things.
It's a really good technique. I have to give full credit to Adam Block. He came up with that use of Star Exterminator. I didn't anticipate.
Steely-eyed missile man.
but I didn't think of that use. That I didn't anticipate. And that's one of the fun things about these tools is it's really interesting to see the ways people come up with to use them.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think of that. Adam figured, hey, this will be really good at getting rid of star residuals in comet processing. So
yeah,
great. It's awesome.
Adam has
we're
actually
kind of changing the way we do things.
Adam has been on the show twice already, I think.
A couple times. Yeah.
It's time to get him back. We haven't had him back in a year. The only reason why he came back the second time was because Eric said something. Eric said something he shouldn't have.
He had to re-educate me.
So
and he's a great teacher. He really
no,
is.
he really is. He's awesome. I'm a member. Eric's a member of Horizons. You know, Scott as well. You know, I mean, you know, we don't only do this for us. We like to support the hobby and the people that are doing it. I know that I purchased both of your plugins for Pixinsight. I know I think Eric's got one of them.
Yeah, I have Gradient. I have Gradient Exterminator.
You got Gradient.
So
Scott doesn't take many pictures, so he doesn't have any.
Yeah. We're still waiting. We're still waiting.
You just gotta drop that there.
We really want to know if
explain why that
T14
is.
Edge actually is working for him. You know, we really want to know if it actually works.
We did have a couple of questions come through the chat, though.
We did.
The next one was from Jerry Valdez, who was one of our sponsors that actually gave us a nice giveaway of the Photoshop package that he gave us. He asked, if you don't mind me asking, what coding language was used for the training?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So Python.
Okay.
Oh, really?
This is specifically for training. Yeah, Python. And the reason for that is the other big software package that is a module for Python, which is TensorFlow.
TensorFlow. Yeah.
TensorFlow is a neural network development environment created by Google, and it's all open source. They give it away for free. It's written in Python. So if you're going to develop in TensorFlow, then you're going to be using Python. So
yeah.
And Terry is asking, any advice on diffraction spikes?
Get a refractor. Oh. No, I mean, Star Exterminator was trained on images with diffraction spikes in them. Although the data set was fairly limited, it was only from a couple different instruments. The new version that I'm training now has stars with diffraction spikes from many different instruments, all kinds of diffraction spikes. Ones with rainbows, ones without rainbows, ones that split a little bit, ones that fan out a bit. So the next version of the neural network should be much better at removing diffraction spikes.
Nice.
And Josh is really on a roll here.
Yeah, he's like the question master this time.
He is. What other kinds of things do you foresee in the future with AI solutions for astrophotography?
The king of AI is here.
I can see Josh now. He has a Persian cat. And he's just stroking it.
Give me a pep. You're gonna be my little Persian cat. Give me a pep.
Well, I do have some other ideas in the hopper. After this latest update for Star Exterminator comes out, I do have an improvement I want to make to Noise Exterminator. It does some, if you're using any hyperbolic stretching, it does some funky things around the edges of stars, and I want to fix that. Hello, kitty. That is a cat, right?
No,
it's a dog.
That is a dog. That's my little pain in the butt chihuahua. This was the star of Neve 2018. This guy right here.
Nice.
Right? Yeah.
But, I do have some other ideas about what we could use AI for. There's nothing solid yet. All the ideas that I have I've just been cooking them up in my head because my darn GPUs are busy training Star Exterminator right now. So I'm waiting for GPU time. Yeah.
Josh has another follow-up. Are you going to train on the James Webb?
Data.
On any James Webb data?
Wow, yeah, that speaking of diffraction spikes, that telescope has some long diffraction spikes.
And it's
and
all infrared.
not just that, but the if you look at the zoomed in star images, they're like, you see all these funky patterns and stuff from the hexagonal mirror segments and whatnot. I had not planned on it, but if a lot of us, the amateur community, starts processing JWST images, then sure, it's not going to hurt the network to include some data from that telescope.
Right.
That would be really cool. I'm so psyched for Tuesday. Tuesday is the day.
Yeah. Tuesday's the day. Yes, it is.
I think it's 10:30.
They just released one. What was it? 2 days ago, just from their guider.
Yeah, from the guiding camera. Yeah, I saw that.
It's like, how many galaxies are just in their guide?
Yeah, they did it. They were pointed at the deep field, I think, weren't they?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was for the deep field.
I think it was for the deep field.
Yeah.
We have another question. If we send an image for training, what format do you prefer? What file format do you prefer?
16-bit TIFF RGB. Yeah, that's the best. Or grayscale. If it's a monochrome image, that's fine too. But yeah, 16-bit is best. 8-bit I could work with, but really 16-bit's the best.
16-bit TIFF.
Yeah,
and stretch is fine.
Huge.
And stretch is fine.
What's that?
Stretch.
I said TIFF.
So
TIFF
non-linear are okay as well. So stretched are okay. So stretched are
fine.
okay.
And, yeah, that's fine. And yeah, TIFF files can be big, although you can save them with compression. So that will cut down the file size a bit. I might go ahead and set up a Dropbox so people have a place to put them, so they don't have to figure out how to upload them and stuff like that.
I'll make it easy for anybody that wants to input images. I'll set up. We already have a Google Drive folder set up for images of the week. I'll make another folder for RC info, let's say, and you can put it in there, and I'll share you the link, and whoever wants to dump stuff in there can. Just please keep it to Astro. Don't put any weird stuff in there. You know, we don't need any crazy pictures or anything like that, but just 16-bit TIFFs, monochrome images, throw them in there. And and Russ, as you grab them, if you want to grab them, just take them off there, delete them, and you'll have access as an editor, so you don't have to keep on.
Wonderful, thank you, appreciate it.
I could do that. So feel free, everybody who's watching. We got 40 people watching right now. I'm gonna, while you guys are talking, I'll set it up and I'll put the link in the chat, and we could do that. So
sounds great. That's perfect. Thanks.
So I'm looking. So Chris was asking for XISF, but you already mentioned TIFF. So
XISF would be fine too. I mean, but the TIFF is just if someone's got something in Photoshop or something like that, they can send that to format. Yeah.
So either way, all right, that's awesome. So no, Josh was saying he's a software developer and he was just curious because he might get into experimenting, with everything and with AP, with astrophotography. So it's fun stuff.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see if anyone else. I'm just checking the chat. I just want to make sure I don't miss any questions or anything like that, because I just hate missing that type of stuff.
But
right now I think we're fine.
In the last one we did right before you, it was David Giesen from Photonic Cleaning Technologies. We missed a bunch of questions, and what he did, he rewatched the show and he answered every single question. But what I thought, you don't have to do that. So what I'm gonna do after every show, I'm gonna go through the list, and maybe if you could just maybe type a sentence or something, or answer ones that weren't answered, and then I can put it on the blog, on the website, saying, hey, a letter from Russell. Here are the questions that weren't answered on the show. And that's it. So
Yeah,
I think that we're going to do that from now on. It'll add content to the website, and it'll give people a little bit of stuff to read. So
yeah, a little bit of information.
I love it. I sit here. So I left my cushy corporate engineering job last December to work on this astronomy software full time. And so now, I'm working from home. It turns out I'm working way more than I was. Self-employment is a strong motivator. So I'm working 12, 14-hour days every day, mainly because it's fun. But I'm sitting here alone working on this stuff every day. I love questions like this. I love this interaction. It gives me a chance to talk about this stuff, and also kind of clues me in, like if there's something else that one of these tools should be doing, it kind of clues me into that. So yeah, the more questions, the merrier.
Has there been any updates to Gradient Exterminator over the past couple years?
There has, not so much in terms of functionality. Mainly, I updated it last May to work on with Apple Silicon, natively on Apple Silicon. Apple came out with their new computers based on their own processors, and initially, Gradient Exterminator, you had to run Photoshop in this funky mode called Rosetta for Gradient Exterminator to work. So I went back and ported it to yet another operating system and yet another processor. That's there's a software developer on there. He can probably chime in on this, but Star Exterminator isn't just Star Exterminator. It's actually 5 different programs.
Yeah, wow.
There's 3 different ones for Pixinsight: Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And then for Photoshop, there's Windows and Mac. And it's 5 different pieces of software, and they all have to work the same. And that's when I'm working on that, I'm not working on new algorithms or neural networks. I'm making it look the same on Windows as it does on Mac. It's quite a pain, actually.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Well, we appreciate your dedication to it. So, these are great pieces of software, and I know they've made huge impacts on a lot of people who have downloaded them and been using them. So I know they really appreciate it.
Yeah, at the beginning of the show, you must have had about 15 to 20 thank yous on the impact you've made in the community. It's just I told you the story offline about the cruddy picture that I took of the Big Dipper in the clouds of Cherry Springs when it got cloudy. I took my iPhone out and I took a picture. I took a 10-second night shot photo, held it as steady as I could, brought it home, so it was noisy as everything. And I said, let me throw it on there. And it smoothed everything out, smoothed the clouds out a little too. But it smoothed everything out. And it looked really nice. So it looked a lot better than what the regular iPhone picture, the compressed garbage that, the iPhone comes out with. But I thought I saw another question from Josh. What do you think is the biggest risk in using AI in astrophotos processing?
The biggest risk is, and I especially when doing Noise Exterminator, I kind of agonized over this. I like a lot of us, I was a user of Topaz denoise prior to coming up with Noise Exterminator. And even on, with the sharpness set at the minimum value in that tool, it will invent
like a hammer.
Yeah, it's really strong. It's really difficult to modulate really what its strength is in terms of noise reduction, but also it always tries to sharpen the image.
Yeah.
And it will add detail. It will manufacture detail that's not there. And that is a risk. That's always a risk with AI. It's going to crunch a bunch of numbers and it's going to come up with some answer. And hopefully that answer still relates to reality. Yeah. Now that tool was not, to be fair to the Topaz guys, they have a very powerful and interesting tool, but it's trained on daytime photos by and large.
And that's the thing, because you know what? I mean, our little section of the CMOS society is very small in comparison to all the other things that CMOS chips, and we've spoken about the show before. Astro is a very small percentage of the users of CMOS chips. Most people are DSLRs, or don't forget the scientific field. Don't forget all those. And astrophotography is very small. So not a lot of people are going to kind of, set up in that niche of astrophotography. They're going to try and make this larger kind of action that
covers 99% of their users. Right?
Exactly. And that's why we need people like yourself that are knowledgeable and stuff like this, that could help with the the little area that we all love, astrophotography, and literally not take a tool like a hammer in a jewelry store and and just smash things up. It could be very, very detrimental. I don't want to say, a lot of people get good results, and this could be totally user error with Topaz. I tried it a couple of times. I just thought it was too heavy-handed for me. I just thought it was too heavy-handed, and I downloaded the trial, and within 15 days it was gone. But
it's better for terrestrial.
But that was actually one of the primary motivators for doing Noise Exterminator. Was I was kind of tired of trying to get rid of noise, but ending up with my stars looking like they came out of Minecraft. These little
wacky. Right.
That's funny. On a side note, on something on side, we have a member in the chat. His name is Chris Freeriksen, who sent in a picture to the International Dark Sky Association for acceptance and for an award for IDA. And he's out there now. If you're on the Discord channel, please vote for him, because it's a nice picture of the Tulip Nebula. It's a nice wide field shot. Go take a look at it. Go vote for it. He's one of ours. And we want to support him as well, because it is a really, really, and if you talk for a little bit, I'll bring it up and I'll show it, but it's a really nice picture. It was really well done. So
nice. Yeah, good luck on that.
Yeah. Josh also asks, do you recommend keeping the detail level low or at 0?
So the way detail works, the best way to think of it is it's like if you're doing unsharp mask, you're familiar with the radius and the amount parameters for unsharp mask. The detail parameter in Noise Exterminator is a lot like the radius slider on an unsharp mask. So it changes the radius over which it's trying to do a little bit of sharpening. And it kind of acts a bit like an unsharp mask too. Intentionally, I didn't want to build in, I could have built the network to do stuff like Topaz does, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try to keep our data, unpolluted by manufactured details. If you're going to do additional sharpening by whatever method, deconvolution or unsharp mask or wavelet transforms later on in Pixinsight or whatever, I would recommend keeping the detail kind of low. If it's really going to be your only means of doing sharpening, detail works great. Just inspect the results, run it on a preview before you commit to it on a whole image. It can put dark halos around stars if you run it up too high. The higher settings are meant for like oversampled images, like from big reflectors. If it's just if it's a wide field shot from a small refractor or something like that, keep detail low.
Jerry also has a question. Do you have a preferred type of object to image that you image? Nebula, galaxy, planet, planetary.
I love all my children. No, I don't do much planetary work. I dabbled with that a little bit back in the mid 2000s. It was fun. I had one of those little Philips 2U cam, little webcam you stick in your eye.
And that big foot on the bottom. You kind of
yeah. And you don't need dark skies to do it. You need good seeing, but you don't need dark skies.
You just need good seeing, yeah.
So I dabbled with that a bit, but haven't done much of it, mainly because I don't have a really fast camera like that anymore. High frame rate camera,
Yeah.
you need that for planetary. So narrowband nebulas are kind of my go-to. I just love the freedom, because you're not like, it's got to be, you know, photometrically color calibrated. You know, I like doing that too, RGB, and like really nailing the color on a galaxy or something like that. But narrowband nebula images are just fun. A lot of creative freedom there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I am totally relegated to narrowband, being from Long Island. So, I mean,
that's the other great thing about narrowband is if you get narrow enough filters, you don't need dark skies either.
Oh yeah, I also purchased, when it came out, the 3 nanometer Optolongs, and they have just been completely awesome. Now I'm waiting on one more piece for my new setup, so I can get first light on the new astrophysics scope that I just got. And so hopefully by by Cherry Springs, I'll have it all ready to go. That would be really the goal. If not, that's fine. I'll go with my, I'll do some more wide field with the Red Cat. I'll just be done with it. But be a nice easy trip. But narrowband, I mean, being at Bortle 8 or more, I mean, I could do LRGB, but they are super short exposures. I technically I probably don't even have to guide. That's how short they are. But it's tough. When you're in a high Bortle sky, because the longer the exposure, the higher the gradient, the higher the noise. It just gets really, really, when you have to do 3 or 4 passes of, maybe you have to do DBE, then bring it into Photoshop and do gradient exterminator, and then bring it back into Pixinsight, and you got to do like 4 passes just to be semi happy. And it's tough. That's why I normally do. And like right now, from April, that galaxy season, that April, May, early June area, it's kind of like, well, what do I do? There's only, because all the sharpless is too low, right now, for me, and it's behind the house or something, and there is some other stuff I could do, and I got some good, galaxy shots. I mean, now that's an RGB that I did from Long Island. That's was it Arcturus and M4, Antares and M4. But it's possible. It definitely is, but it's just a little bit more time intensive, let's say, as far as the processing is concerned.
Yeah. Like for me, I get more into PI, right? I'm getting more and more into Pixinsight, but I've always been an APP, Astro Pixel Processor user. So now, like with great, I'm looking forward. I most likely will either probably get PI's version, or I haven't decided yet. And I've been doing that a lot. Taking things out of APP, dropping them into either PI or dropping them into Photoshop. Then I go into Lightroom. I have like 3 or 4 different applications that I'll use. I like APP because, one, I'm familiar with it, and for me it's easy to use. Just like for you, Dan, and for others, PI, you're more comfortable with that because it's easier for you to use. So I bounce around a lot. So I'm just deciding on, well, maybe I'll go PI, Photoshop, because I already have Gradient Exterminator, which I don't really need to use with APP because it has its own background, its own dynamic background extractions and stuff like that, and its own noise pollution correctors. But I just like, moving things around and just going, from one thing to another. That's just how I've been lately. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go from if I'm going to get the Photoshop version or the PI version.
Well, Eric and Scott and Pete and Russ, feel free to chime in. We talk about this a lot in the show, and there are so many people, not me, but a lot of other people that are not me, jump around because Pete talks about, Scott talks about, some programs do things better than others, just like Russell was talking about with the selection tools. You know,
Mhm.
the selection tools in Photoshop, they are better in other things. I like doing my curves in Photoshop because I feel like I got a little bit of a better control of what's going on there. And, you know, Lightroom is another one like you were talking about where, you know, Scott's a huge user of Adobe. And, you know, it's partial comfort level, right?
Yep.
But it's also partial utility because, you know, just like a utility knife that you have in your pocket, you know, you're not going to use a screwdriver to cut a piece of paper. You know, it's not going to happen. So, you know, you need to have all those tools in there. And so if you don't like the way something is going, then you can move and pivot and go another route.
Yeah. You should always use the most effective tool, the tool that you are most effective with, right? The one you're most
Exactly.
comfortable with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Eric, keep in mind on the RC Astro tools, Star Exterminator, Noise Exterminator, it doesn't matter which version you get. The same license key will work for the Photoshop and the Pixinsight version.
There you go.
That's
there you
good.
go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So you buy it as a package, right, Russ? You buy
You
it
just
as a
buy
package?
one license. Yeah, you buy one license key, and then you get the download links for the other versions, and the same license key will work in those.
The same license key works for all of the different processes. That's good.
So yeah, it's one license key for all 5 different versions of Star Exterminator, and one license key for all 5 different versions of Noise Exterminator. Yeah.
Nice.
What I'm curious because I have not purchased that yet. But what is the what is it, a yearly subscription? Is it a one-time purchase?
No,
what are you doing?
No, no, I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. I haven't, like Gradient Exterminator, I've never charged for an update on that. I did charge when it had to be ported to a different platform for the first time. There was an upgrade there, but with Noise Exterminator and Star Exterminator, I just came out with all 5 versions at once. And there's I don't have any plans to do any sort of subscription model on that. I know a lot of software companies are going that way, but I don't really want to do that. So
yeah, there was a couple of software companies that we've talked about on the show that went to subscription based, and I won't mention who. And there was a lot of backlash on the show regarding that, and a lot of people went to another route. Let's just say. And,
Well, and you know, not for nothing, but other companies they when they did that, you know, because I mean, my wife and I have run a graphic design studio for like the last 18 years, and we have constantly been using the Adobe suite, right? The Adobe products, right? So I mean, when Photoshop they come out with a new product or a new version, you'd have to buy it all over again. Spend another $800, right? We buy the suite, it's a $4,000 package, right? And then all of a sudden they came out with a CC. Everybody lost their mind. They're like, oh my god, I'm paying, you know. That was one of the best things that Adobe ever did, was putting that thing onto CC.
Doing the Creative Cloud.
Constantly updated.
It's constantly updated.
You get the newest every single day. It's freaking awesome.
And for me, you know what? And for me, spend just $10 a month for that subscription.
Yep.
For what I do, you know, with Lightroom and Photoshop, $10 a month is nothing to keep them current personally. But one thing for us that I do appreciate, and I did see this on your website, which is very cool with what you're doing is that and correct me if I'm wrong, is that people who have previously bought another application of yours, they get a discount on other applications.
Yeah, pretty significant discount. It's like 33%. It's like a third off.
Like a third off.
So, yeah. Even if it's like you bought a license for Gradient Exterminator 32-bit version for CS2 back in 2005 or something like that. That permanent license key will work to get you a discount on Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator.
And that's awesome.
That's great stuff.
And I know that's really appreciative of myself, and I'm sure to others as well.
Yeah.
So what do somebody that's coming in here that doesn't that has never seen or they're interested in purchasing it? What is it going to cost them to get the full Monty, so to speak?
So the first tool that you buy a license for is going to be $59.95. That's the current price.
Okay.
If you want to get more than one, if you want to, let's say, do that for Star Exterminator, And again, that works on all versions. That's Pixinsight, Photoshop, Windows, Mac, Linux, whatever. If after that you also say, hey, I also want to do Noise Exterminator, then it's $39.95 for Noise Exterminator.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Gradient Exterminator and Star Shrink and any other tools that I come out with, I'll keep the same deal.
That's awesome.
Make it easy.
Is there a bundle?
Yeah. That kind of is the bundle. It's
okay.
On the administrative side, keeping track of what's in which bundle and all that. That's a lot of database administration and junk on my side. That I'd rather be developing more neural networks than messing with that.
Sure.
So I just came up with that scheme of like, yeah, the first one is $59.95, and then everything after that is $39.95.
Yeah, and the same key works for all of it.
For any one tool, same license key. Yeah.
Same license
for
key.
For the newer tools, Gradient Exterminator is still a little bit different. It's a different license key for Windows versus Mac, mainly because I haven't gotten around to updating that. But for Star Exterminator and Noise Exterminator, same license key for all versions of Star Exterminator, same different license key for all versions of Noise Exterminator.
Right.
Got it.
Nice.
So each respective application has their own license key.
Has its own key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're good for different versions within that particular family.
And future versions.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. I haven't charged for any updates. No subscription model plans at this point.
That's really cool.
There you go. You heard it here.
Well, it might not.
Yes.
It also might not be a bad idea to have a Patreon. So I mean, people can. I know a lot of people. They love to support beyond what they pay. Because of what people are doing.
Yeah.
And
I would do that with my Astrophotos or something like that. I don't know. But, yeah. No, it's really gratifying to hear that and to get the support that I've gotten, because like I said, I gave up my cushy corporate job to work on this stuff because this is what I'm passionate about.
Right.
And folks getting licenses for this software enables me to keep working on cool stuff. It's cool for all of us. So it's a one of those win-win kind of virtuous circle kind of things that I just really like.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And doing what you're doing, you have this passion that you, like you say, you left your corporate job to do this because you love this. You have a passion for this. So it's almost like, what's that old saying, you never really work, or something like that if you're doing something you love.
If you love what you do, you never really have a job.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So.
I can attest to that over the last, I quit in December. So it's 7 months now, half a year. I've never had much more fun working. Yeah.
I feel the same way as a photographer. I love what I do, and it's not like work. It really isn't.
Yeah.
I wish I had your guys' feelings. I really do.
I mean,
certain aspects of what I do, I love. Certain aspects of what I do, I could do without. So
if there is, so we had a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
So Forerunner was asking, so if there is a Photoshop version of Noise Exterminator later, that license key will work for it too. So the answer to that is yes.
And there already is a Photoshop version of Noise Exterminator.
There you go.
There you go.
Yes, Norm, there is.
Yeah, and Wade was asking, can add Star Exterminator as a PI process?
It is.
I thought that is. I thought it was.
It is a PI process.
Yeah, I thought it was a PI process.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, I see Wade's. I have the chat running here.
Yeah.
I can see the question. Yes, it is a Pixinsight. It's a process module, not a script.
Yeah. So just when you do it, you just gotta download it and you just add it right to the resources.
Yeah, it's actually super easy. Photoshop installation is a bit clunky. You have to drag a file to a certain directory and all that.
Yeah.
Adobe does not make that easy, unfortunately. But for Pixinsight, I got to hand it to Juan, the developer, for coming up with the update system, which works well 99% of the time. But you just add, there's a repository address that you add in Pixinsight. And once you have that in there, it'll just find the updates and download them and install them. It's really easy. So it's a lot easier to install on Pixinsight than it is in Photoshop, actually.
So does you said it was kind of clunky when it with Photoshop with the Adobe. Is it not running as a plugin?
It is a plugin, and it works great once it's installed. But installing it is clunky. Yeah, because
Really?
over the years, Adobe had all these different places that they want. Each version of Photoshop wanted plugins in a different place.
Yeah.
And it's really complicated to write an installer that would put those plugins in the right place. Topaz has that, but they've got a staff. You know, they're like, 25 people or something like that. They can have one person work on an installer. So right now it's a drag and drop proposition. You got to drag a file into a certain location, and then it works. But if you're not super familiar
it's not like, it's not like, in Photoshop, where now, at least now, the newer versions where like you have an action and you can just drag and drop, that action right into the action field.
Actions are easy.
The actions are easy, so it can be a little bit, clunky and cumbersome to try to find that right spot, to drag in those plugins. So
that's probably half the support requests that I get on my website is like, I can't get it working in Photoshop. And 90% of the time it's just the wrong directory. But I wish I had some time to actually develop a good installer, but then it's like, it's an installer for Mac, and then it's a different installer for Windows.
So just in case anybody was curious regarding Pixinsight, I do have it up here real quick just to show everybody how easy it is. If you just go under the resources tab of Pixinsight and go under updates, and once this is after you purchase it and you get the clearance to put it in there, go into manage repositories, and you can see I have them here. All you got to do is add and then put whichever plugin you have, whether it's Star Exterminator or Noise Exterminator, put it there, click OK, and then restart Pixinsight, and it will load it right up. So it makes it
here's
really
a quick question. Here's my question with that, and since you already have PI already up,
go ahead.
and you can answer that, because you do have a license key.
Yep.
Do you have to enter in that license key after you put it in the response report? Okay, so let's do it.
Install the software. There's a little wrench icon in so you do process, and then let's say it's Noise Exterminator, noise reduction, and then Noise Exterminator. Should have popped up somewhere. There.
No, it's on my other
wrench
screen.
icon.
There you go.
There it is. Okay.
But you pop that up, and it'll have some spots in there, some boxes where you can enter in your email address and license key.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward.
Super easy.
And I just changed the licensing system. Actually, you'd get the email address and the license key by email, and you'd have to copy and paste. And not everybody knows all the keyboard shortcuts for how to do that. But now it's a link. You'll get an email with a link. You click on that, it goes to my website, and it displays your license key, and you just click copy. It puts it on your clipboard, and then you can paste it right in there. So it's made it a lot easier.
Made it a lot more
as far as plugging it into Photoshop and Lightroom and such, do you have like a README file for people to like a flow chart of how to?
There is, when you get the link to download the Photoshop version, it's a zip file, and the zip file contains two things. It's got the plugin itself, and then it's got a PDF document called "How to Install." .pdf, and you double click that, and it walks you through.
Awesome.
And it's only for Photoshop. So, because I know you mentioned Lightroom, but it's only the plugin for
it's only Photoshop. Pixinsight is comparatively easy, and when there's an update, because you have that repository address entered into Pixinsight, whenever I come out with an update, it'll automatically install. It'll say you got an update available if you want to download it.
Oh, there they come.
Yep, there they are. You hear them. There's my herd.
And bunnies coming down the steps again.
Yep. When you get three of these beasts, man, they just go crazy. So let's see if there was any other questions here. I don't see any other questions right now.
Last one
Which
was about
is-
license keys. So
Right.
Do you have Russell? Do you have any YouTube videos? Any like training videos on your process for people that are complete noobs?
I don't. That's you know, it's kind of running your own show. You end up wearing multiple hats, and those are hats I haven't picked up yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll have to speak with my promotion department about that.
Oh, the wife.
So
Wife, daughters.
I have one of those promotion departments.
I think most of us do.
Yeah.
Wade Prunty
Well, I'll
asked.
bet you dollars to donuts. I'll bet you dollars to donuts. There's some savvy, person, astrophotographer out there that would be willing to put up a training video together on the
Yeah.
product,
Well, folks like Adam Block has done a number of videos that use these tools already. Sean Nielsen did a great intro to Noise Exterminator when it first came out. So there's a lot of people doing that already, and they have like tons of subscribers already. Which, I mean, they work hard to get those. I mean, Sean's got like something like 12,000 subscribers, and that's like a lot of hard work over a long period of time. So that's, catching up with that would be a tough act to follow for sure.
Yeah.
And Wade asked, and I believe you touched on this earlier, with Star Exterminator, separating the stars into a separate image. That's going to be coming up in the next version, I believe, right? The next version.
Yeah, you can already do that. Yeah, okay. There's already a generate stars in the Pixinsight process. There's a generate stars button. For Photoshop, I actually came up with an action. We were talking about Photoshop actions earlier. There's an action I have already written. I just have to put it on my website somewhere that will, you just select the layer you want to remove the stars from. It'll do its thing, and it'll generate the starless image and the stars image. And it uses this new unscreen technique. I posted about this, I don't know, it's right after AIC actually. There's a new way to remove the stars from an image. So when you put them back, they'll recombine much better. It's called unscreening, and then you use the screen blend mode to put the stars back. That action does that. And the next version of Star Exterminator for Pixinsight, which will be ready hopefully this weekend sometime, it'll have an unscreen stars button. So if you want to generate your stars that way, you just click the button, and it'll generate two images: the starless image and the stars image with the stars unscreened, and then you can mess with your starless image and then put your stars back on, and it looks great.
One question that I have, is there a way to select, or is there a process to say eliminate and I'm talking about for Star Exterminator, to eliminate, say, a certain size of star, say if you want to get rid of the smaller stars versus like the larger stars, like say, the Satyr region, you want to get Satyr, but you don't want to have all the other ones, or all in attack for Horsehead, or for example, things like that.
Dense star field.
So you can minimize, you can get rid of that star field, but those more prominent in the larger stars, you can still have those and stuff like that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, there's really not. And the reason is the network would get a lot more complicated. The network for Noise Exterminator is actually having those adjustable sliders actually makes the neural network a lot more complicated, and it takes a lot longer to train because you have to basically train it for every one of those slider values.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a different neural network for each one of those two, each possible value on both different sliders. So there's not a way to do that per se, but with this new technique of unscreening the stars and then rescreening them, it's a lot easier to, you can do stuff like that in post-processing. So if you're in Photoshop, you could do something simple like use a selection and then, contract or expand your selection area to like get rid of the small stars, or just adjust the level on the small stars to kind of fade the small stars out a bit. So they're not completely gone, they're just de-emphasized.
They're just,
Once you have that unscreened star image, you can do that. And that'd be, if I do end up coming on again, that'd be a technique I'd be happy to demonstrate on the show. But once you've got the stars unscreened like that, you can do stuff like that pretty easily. Yeah.
Nice.
So you're selecting them by pixel size?
No, not. I mean, you.
How
If
much
you
pi-
did it
how
in
many
Photoshop
pixels
and
each
you
star
were
makes
using
up?
if you're doing it in Photoshop and you were doing it with the selection tools, you could like select the background, which would kind of put a ring, a selection ring around every star if you like inverted it. And then if you those selection rings around the small stars are going to be smaller than the ones around the big stars. And you can contract your selected area and deselect all the small stars.
Yeah.
Then you'll have only the large stars selected. You can invert that again and then mess around with your small stars.
There you go.
So it's Photoshop tricks you can play to once you've got that image.
Sure.
Yeah. Neat stuff.
All of which are anathema to the Pixinsight.
Yep.
You know, selecting only part of an image and then manipulating that is verboten in Pixinsight.
You step too close to the fire of death.
It's anathema.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Pixinsight, but it's a bit it definitely has a purist kind of bent.
Yeah, well, you know, some people like I want to say I'm gonna butcher the name, H.V. Boardman, with the game script and a couple other things.
With the game
script, you kind of get around, not as well as Photoshop, but you can kind of make that little detour into selecting certain things. But it's not as efficient, but it's good.
Adobe was created. It was created for creators. It was created for
absolutely.
artists.
Right.
You know.
So, yeah. Pixinsight definitely leans much more heavily toward the science end of things than the art end of things. Yeah.
Yeah, marrying the two, that's where you get some stunning images.
Yep.
Yeah, I fully agree. If you're this is kind of a follow up to the question earlier about what are the risks of AI.
Sure.
For astrophotography, if you're going to be doing any science with your data, don't let AI within 10 feet of your data. You know, if you're doing astrometry or photometry, something like that, I recommend against, I mean, not just my tools, but any AI tools, unless it was specifically designed for doing science, then I wouldn't touch the data with an AI-based tool, because it's just, it's not, you can design an algorithm by hand that will do something like conserve flux. Like if you're registering an image, you're moving a star from one location to another in the pixel map, you can make it so that all the flux is conserved. The star is just as bright as it was in the old location. If that's an AI-based tool, unless it was specifically designed to conserve flux, it's probably not. Yeah. And there goes my lights. And star centroids and stuff like that, they're not going to be in the same place. You know, so don't do astrometry or photometry on an AI processed image. Is you guys. Let me go hit the lights here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
There we go.
I have my timer, so if it doesn't see me move in 2 hours, it shuts them off. As soon as I'm not here.
Yeah. You got to do the jump around. You know, you got to kind of wave. Josh had a question regarding batch star removal for comets.
Yes.
With the batch star removal, after what step? I guess he means after WBPP. Would you recommend doing that?
Actually, it would be during, in a sense.
Okay, so it would be in the script of WPPP, or?
And it's not going to be included in the script unless those guys decide to insert like a custom step or something. So what you'd have to do, you want your images calibrated,
right?
You want your darks and your flats all applied. You probably want to apply some cosmetic correction to handle any hot pixels that are left over.
Got it.
But before you integrate, because the comet's moving in the field, right? Each frame, the comet's in a different location. So before you integrate, you want to remove you want to separate out the stars from the non-stellar parts of the image, and create 2 sets of files: stars only and comet only, and then integrate them, register them, integrate them separately, and then recombine. So it's a different flow for sure than what we're used to. But that's the flow that Adam came up with that works really, really well for getting rid of those little residual trails of stars in your comet images that the pixel rejection algorithms just can't quite reject.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see what
That makes sense.
yeah, no other questions.
Okay.
Right,
I think that's it. I don't know if we wanted to do any polls or image of the week right now with Russ on or one of the raffle draws or anything like that.
The image of the week, there's a little discrepancy, I guess, apparently for this week. I need to clear that up before I announce the picture of the week. I'll talk to you guys after the show on what happened because I haven't gotten in touch with one person yet.
Okay.
So we won't probably do that. We may do that on Wednesday night with the Eagle giveaway. So I'm going to hold off on the picture of the week for this week until I get in touch with one other person. So once I do that, then we'll announce the picture of the week. But we do have a Masters of Pixinsight giveaway that we need to do. So we could get.
And I know Russell maybe has something that he wanted to share too.
He does. So if you want to, feel free to let loose. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. We are doing, with AstroWorld, we are doing a giveaway, one license of Star Exterminator, and again that'll work on Pixinsight or Photoshop, Mac, Windows, whatever, and one license for Noise Exterminator. So the way to do that is, I believe, I believe there's going to be an entry form on the website, on the AstroWorld website. Is that right?
That is correct.
So just, if you're missing one of those tools in your arsenal, then enter your email address on there for a chance to win one of those licenses.
Yeah. So for those of you that are new to the show, on www.astroworldweb.com, you go slide down to the bottom, and all the giveaways are there, including, Optolong, Charles Bracken, a couple other ones. There's a bunch of giveaways there. So sign up for that'll probably be up there probably sometime tomorrow night to start. So sign up, and let's say, why don't we do when you come back and after the next version of Star Exterminator comes out, we could do the giveaway then as well. So you could be on the show when we give it away.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
So let's do that sometime after. You and Russ, you and I will talk, and we'll get together and we'll figure out a date. But you
can do a live demo as well.
We could do all that.
A live demo of the new version of Star Exterminator would be great. I could show that unscreened stars technique, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd
be great.
Cool. Somebody is texting me. So why don't we do the I just got a thank you from Prima Luce saying thank you for the nice words, pretty much. So so let's do and I also want to show Russ, I don't know if you know this, we have a Redbubble store, which is like a merch store where you can get AstroWorld shirts, stickers, hats, iPhone covers, mouse pads, whatever,
all kinds of fun stuff,
onesies, whole bunch of stuff. Yeah,
I'm waiting for the doggy shirts.
I know. I got to work on that. I want the one for the back, small, medium, large. I want one for like the golden retriever, the XXXL one. But
I get one for Rocky for sure.
There you go. But what we do is once we get over a certain amount of purchases, we make we give back. So we make a 10% donation of every single purchase to a members astronomy club. So whatever it is, and I'm shocked that we've only had about 5 people that have gotten back to me with their club names. It's a $100 donation we're giving away to that club. We're gonna spin. We're not gonna spin tonight, but I'm thinking maybe sometime in August we're gonna spin for it. So if you want your club to be involved in that, email me directly at dan@astroworldweb.com and give me your club's name, and I will put it in the wheel, and I'll show you who's in there as of right now. I got one more, and it happens to be my club because somebody else is there from my club and they wanted the club in there. but it's the one that I'm affiliated with. But we got 5 people in there. So the Norm Hughes Astronomical Society, please add. So yeah, we're gonna call it the Newman Club. The Newman Club. That's what we're gonna do. So so we got yeah, exactly. So let me get the wheel up, and I have it right here. We got the little massive spinning wheel, and as Pete always likes to say every night, those spots are getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Pretty soon, they're going to be like these little tiny slivers.
Yeah, they're going to have like asterisks or something next to the name.
Exactly.
Because, you know, we're gonna need a bigger boat. But you know, right now, if I'm reading it right, it looks like for this giveaway we have 63 names up here.
That's great.
Wow.
So this is all people that have signed up, or you know, just signed up on the website, or people that watch the show. But this is actually going to be for a Masters of Pixinsight giveaway for the next class. And if you don't know or are new to the show, and I'll go there. And this is the Masters of Pixinsight site. And if you just go into workshops, and the next live workshop, it's going to be pretty cool. I want to go to this, but I think I'm going to miss this. I'm going to have to watch a replay. But it's weighted batch pre-processing has gone through a number of changes over the past year. And now they're doing a 2-hour deep dive. And it's Tuesday night, July 19th, so a week from Tuesday, I believe. If you don't win tonight, feel free to purchase it, $35 for the 2-hour class. And it's like a Zoom meeting. It's a go-to meeting. So that being said, let's get to the spinning of the wheel. And there we go. No whammies. No whammies.
No whammies.
Is it?
It's Jay Polanco. Congratulations, Jay. He's one of our newer members. What's that?
Congratulations, Jay.
Yeah. So
yes, absolutely.
So Jay wins the and I believe he just won something recently too. He's one of our newer members, though. But congratulations to Jay. We have a bunch of these. We have like in the beginning of the year, we had 41 IP for AP yearly subscriptions and something like 50 Masters of Pixinsight classes that they gave us to give away. And we're going to be doing it almost every Friday night. We're giving away something from them. And then, you know, all the other stuff that we give away. So congratulations to Jay. Jay, you'll get another email from me. So nice job. Not that you didn't have to do anything, but you know, all I did was spin the wheel, put your email in there. So congratulations to Jay. And
a big thank you to David Schaefer, who just donated $20.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
So thank you, Dave. Really appreciate that. You know, thank you for supporting the channel.
I didn't even see that. I was busy.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, Dave. $20.
Yeah, so really, really cool. And again, for those who are new to the channel and have this is maybe your first visit to this to our show, really thank you all for coming. And if you want to take advantage and have of these really cool giveaways, don't forget to just go to our website, AstroWorldWeb.com, and you can go down to the bottom. We have all of our giveaways there, and you can sign up for each of those giveaways, putting in your email address, and don't forget to sign up for the newsletter as well.
Oh yeah, the newsletter has been doing swimmingly. We have now, I think, 64 people getting the newsletter every month, and it's turning out to be a pretty cool thing. I mean, we do astrophotography targets for the month, from a beginner, a intermediate, and advanced. So the beginner is maybe some nice RGB cluster or something that's a little bit easier to do. The next one for an intermediate is probably like either a galaxy or a nebula, and the advanced is usually a narrowbandish type image that we choose. So it's turning out to be pretty good. I do put the following 2 months of star parties around that I know of, so those are listed. there's a little note from me in the beginning saying hi to everybody. And plus all of the giveaways are listed and the upcoming guests are listed. So if you're a Patreon member, you get to see the first and only AstroWorld music video, which is completely horrible, but it's funny. So so you can do that, but it's only for Patreon members. I'm gonna sucker people in to get there to see me sing. So
yeah,
what else?
and not for nothing, one of the big unsung heroes, in all this is our dear friend Peter. Peter has really pulled out a lot of the stops in wrangling the cats, if you will. Getting the guests to come on. And I mean, we talked about this a while ago, Pete, and getting all this, and he's really stepped up and gotten some absolutely phenomenally good guests. So, definitely get in touch with Pete at Woodland Hills if you need stuff. He's your go-to guy on that.
Absolutely.
Pete, big kudos, Pete, on all these guests.
Yep.
It's
big thank you.
Phenomenal.
Big thank you to you, man.
Well, believe me, it's just reached out to Russell at AIC, and Russell, thank you very much. Believe me, thank you kindly for taking your time, because, as I said, it was just a blessing that we were able just to go ahead and have you on, and definitely look forward to having you on in September. But as I said, it's a collective group. It's a great group. It's just a great group, and it's just a great format. And no kudos here. It's a team effort.
Yeah, it's great.
Every single one of us brings something to the table. We're still trying to figure out what Scott brings to the table.
I've been thinking trying to figure that out for the past year, man. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Scott's a really good friend of mine, even though he left me up in New York and moved to Florida.
Scott, you brought me to the table. That's your.
That is true. That is true.
There it is. Okay. All right. There it is. There it is. So golf clap there for Scott. There. So,
I'm gonna do.
And not for nothing, I am like I said, I've been running tests on my my rig. Things are looking really good.
Awesome.
I'm trying to figure out the dew heater ring and the echo. Hopefully I can get that working correctly. We'll see, but
it'll work.
It won't be long.
Yeah.
It won't be
Hey,
long.
Russell.
And I am going to be dumping. Daniel, I am going to be dumping Sequence Generator Pro and going with Nina. Actually, I just got an alert from SGP saying that my subscription is due in like 14 days. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So bye-bye, main sequence. Thank you very much. But no, Russell, I wanted to ask you also, you say you have an RC in South America.
Yeah, guys. Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, stepping on each other.
I was going to say, that brings up a good point, because have you noticed that over the last 5 years, we kind of went through Maxim DL. And then prior to that, it was what you have, Dan, is you have the CD. And then from there, we went to Sequence Generator Pro. Yeah. It was Image Plus. And then we went to Maxim DL. And then now it was Sequence Generator Pro. And now it's Nina / maybe Voyager. It's funny. It's like everything just seems to kind of last about 2 or 3 years when it comes to terms of, say, data acquisition software. But the funny thing is when you look at post-processing, it's always been Pixinsight. It's always been Maxim DL. It's been third-party plugins. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I was going to ask Russell, what mounts do you have on that you're using for your RC and your scope that you have in New Mexico?
Yeah, so the FSQ is on an MX Plus, Paramount MX Plus.
Okay.
They're littler mount. And the CDK, the 14-inch CDK, is on a Paramount ME2.
Nice.
And primarily because that whole setup, the 14-inch scope plus the Paramount ME2 and everything, was Mike Rice at New Mexico Skies was selling that for someone. So it was kind of sitting there all set up, ready to go, turnkey operation, just start, hook up my computer and start imaging. So I took it.
Nice.
That's
You're
awesome.
completely remote, Russ?
Yeah.
No No travel.
No
modes,
backyard
no
imaging.
No pods, none of that.
I have an Obsession 18 sitting out in my barn. That is
That's what I have.
haven't pulled it out in a long time, but the last time I used that was at one of the Texas Star parties years ago, and that's a beautiful instrument. But yeah, it's all remote these days. Once in a while, I'll go out if I want to shoot a satellite trail or something like that. You know, Starlink constellation going over. I'll pull out the tripod and the DSLR and go out in my backyard. But and we all face this, right? The light pollution just keeps getting worse. Where it's bad, it just keeps getting worse. And it's, other than maybe narrowband or planetary, it doesn't really make sense to image a whole lot from Austin. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I also have an 18-inch Obsession Classic, fully loaded with the servo cats and the dew heater and the counterweight system and the whole thing. I mean, it was $750 in freight. You know, I mean, it's like, it was crazy. But you know what? You're right, and it's unfortunate. Like when I purchased, it's coming up on 12 years I've had that scope. And the last time I took it out, my niece was 8, because she came over. She's like, I want to see the big telescope. And I got a picture of her. She's playing with the servo cat and she's pressing the buttons, and she's the telescope's turning. And it was going to be cloudy that night. I just took it out because she wanted to see it. She trips over a bag. She falls down, whatever. I got a video of the whole thing. And she's 13 now. So that scope has been sitting in a storage facility for 5 years, and it's just, it only comes out for outreach at this point. And you get the oohs and the ahs. You see Saturn or Jupiter or Mars in an 18-inch f4.2 or 4.5, depending which one you got. It's pretty awesome, But even in light polluted skies, planetary is sick with it.
Oh,
it's
planetary is great. Yeah.
But it's like, it's a shame that, and Pete actually talked me out of selling it, because he's like, you're gonna regret it, Dan. You're gonna regret it. Don't do it. And he's right. I mean, that scope to me was the first major telescope that I purchased on my own. I mean, it was a lot of money for that scope at that time, and it's still a lot of money for that scope. But I mean, it's just like, it was my first big daub, and it's great. One time we did an outreach program. My other friend Gary Citro has another 18-inch, and we had them set up side by side. It just looked like two cannons coming out. It was crazy, but it's a lot of fun. But AZ4 Runner also said, don't forget APT as acquisition too, and processing as well.
Hey, and you know me, I'm using the ASI Air. That does great for acquisition.
ASI Air too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are niches of different things for every level of user, or just comfortability, like we were talking about before. So do what you're best and what you're most efficient at.
One of the other things that I wanted to mention before I forget is one of the things that I've been talking about for a while is outreach as it relates to young people. Teenagers, preteens, getting them. And you mentioned that, Dan, about your I think you said your niece. And she's now 13. Yeah. I've got my mom called me today, and there's a kid that I grew up with. He's not a kid anymore, but a guy that I grew up with, his son is now 13 years old, and he saw pictures of, some of the different astronomy stuff, and he found out that I have a big telescope. He saw pictures of that, and I think he might be watching tonight.
Okay.
So, I'm not sure about that. I need to talk to my friend Ez and see if his boys got the link in time. But that's one of the things I think we should really, also encourage, is getting people to get their kids into this. And maybe you don't spend $3,000 on a telescope for a kid, but you get them something and you get them interested. You get them to like what you were talking about, an outreach program. And there's got to be a way that we can you know, we can brainstorm on that to get kids interested in that, in this hobby.
Yeah, and you know who does a really good job with that, and that's a Global Star Party over at Explore Scientific. They always bring in some of the younger crowd as guests in there, and they make presentations, PowerPoints, the whole thing, and it's really cool. As a matter of fact, one of our members, Senthil, his son Navin, who his birthday was a couple of last Sunday, they were hanging out in India
13.
doing. He's 13 years old now. He did it still sticks in my head to this day. The presentation that he did with his friend. I forget his friend's name. I don't remember, but whoa, is it fire? Alarm system?
No, I
That's
think I was
funny.
just my wife's rice cooker.
Oh.
It's funny. Just 2 miles from where I live is a school called Folsom Lake City College. And in Rancho Cordova, there was a company called Aerojet that made the stage 1 of the Saturn V rocket. So 12 years ago, they bought a Planewave CDK-17. When they closed the shop down, they decided to donate this CDK-17 to the school. So what they did is they built a roll-on roof. They've got a CDK-17 on an 8P 1600 mount with encoders. They also have a C14 on an 8P 1100 mount with encoders. And what they do is every Saturday, it's open to anybody from 8 o'clock until midnight. You can come in there with all your families. They roll out a 72-inch flat screen LCD TV screen, and you can literally just tell them what object you want to scroll to, and they'll actually move this out. Last weekend, they had over 70 people there on a set because the weather's nice. I mean, it's beautiful. It's like 65, 70 degrees. You don't want to be there in the wintertime, but in the summertime, it's absolutely just gorgeous. But it is just a great venue to be able to get families with children, young children, to be able to get out there and just to be able to say, well, what do you want to do tonight? Well, let's go to see the stars. But you're right. How do we get young people?
Is it actual live view, or are they doing like EAA?
Oh, no. It's an actual live view. They've got an Attic Horizon camera attached to the CDK-14, or no, excuse me, the C14. And they're literally, you're seeing it real time. But I mean, this is the key, is how do we get young people to get into it? Because Russell, you saw AIC. How many young people did you see there? Literally, honestly, how many did you see? I could probably count them maybe on 2 hands.
Yeah. It was, yes.
It was.
We can't put ourselves in the position of being a dying breed, right? We got to inspire the next generation.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I gotta say at NEAF, and Pete, maybe, you know, I don't know if you two have been to NEAF. Maybe Scott has. I don't know if Eric has. But NEAF, I mean, there is a wide range, being in a college, wide range of ages that come into that. It's not only, you know, that 40 or older club. You know, it's a lot in between. I remember being there in 2019. Which was the last live one that they had, and there was just a ton of people under 30 at least. So I remember that very well. So I'm hoping that trend continues. I think that, and it was in the chat a couple of times, that COVID did just, I hate to say it, but did just a wonderful thing for the astronomy and astrophotography community. People are comparing it to the days when, if you're old enough like me, that Halley's Comet, when everybody was out buying telescopes, that people in the industry are comparing the boom of COVID to the boom of Halley's Comet in the 80s. And, you know,
Hale-Bopp. Remember Hale-Bopp?
You know, Hale-Bopp was big, but Halley's was ridiculous.
Was huge.
Yeah,
I know.
And you know, this is kudos also to Russell, because think about it, and we've talked about this many times. Everybody can take good data, everybody can register, calibrate, but the weakness always seems to be in the post-processing. And if we can get third-party plugins to make that a much easier process, this is truly where, like Russell, what you're doing is really something special for us in the post-processing, because everybody doesn't have the time to be able to dedicate, you know, if they've got families, they got kids, and they've got all kinds of stuff going on. So having these third-party plugins makes it so much easier. Like Gradient X, oh my God, how easy is it now to just get a complete image now that's just gradient free, just by 2 or 3 clicks. And as I said, believe me, it's a testament to what you're bringing to the table as well. So what we do as a collective group, and by bringing on our guests, this is truly what I think is what's so good about bringing this to this hobby. We just got to get the young people now to come in and start kind of watching what we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think one of the big problems that you've got there is that a lot of young people, they live in a beep 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 microwave type society where if they can't see it in 30 seconds, you lost them. And this hobby, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
It's hard to compete with TikTok, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You know, and I mean, Peter, you're absolutely right. You know, the ability to streamline that process. But you see, that's the way it's been with most technologies. I mean, you remember when? Well, I probably don't remember, but you know, they used to have the programmers used to program in machine language. And I mean, when compilers came along, it radically transformed that industry.
Yeah,
you know, and it's funny. Oh, go ahead. But as I was thinking, you know, we were thinking about advancements in optics and cameras. But one thing that we have really not really talked about is the advancements in post-processing. And I mean, think about post-processing. That is really where it gets bogged down by a lot of people, because a lot of people don't have the time to understand how do I do Pixinsight? How do I really do Photoshop? There's so many different steps in it. But with a lot of these third-party plugins now, and this is a great way now that we can actually say, guess what? With one-shot color cameras now, you can go out one night. You don't have to go out to a star party for 3 or 4 nights. You can just take a one-shot color camera, take your data, bring it back in, and probably within a week's time, you can have at least a good image. It's not going to be APOD quality, but you'll be happy with what you've got. And if you truly want to keep honing your skill set, by all means, you've got that opportunity to really start to understand the nuances of all this different software. So I think that what Russell's bringing in with AI intelligence, who's to say that maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have some software out there that's going to make post-processing so much easier for the masses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just hit the easy button.
Yeah,
That's the easy button.
That was easy.
Well, I mean, you know, all you have to do is look at the number of people that were on your channel, Daniel. You know, when you were doing EAA, you know, people respond to being able to go on and look at an image that is, maybe you can't see it visually through an eyepiece, but if you've got a stacked image of 5 minutes, and they can see an image in 5 minutes, you know, through and a process like that. Yeah, that's tough to compete with.
Yeah, it's something I really need to get back into again. I did it on YouTube and Facebook for a while. Just sat there for 5 hours while I was just imaging, and people just went live, and people would just come on and hang out. But
thousands of people.
Now I'm just old and tired. What was that, Eric? Eric, I think you might have muted yourself.
Sorry, I was muted. I didn't realize I muted myself.
That's okay.
The dogs.
Yep.
But even with the newer smart telescopes, the Unistellar, and these other scopes, I see a good use case for these scopes for families to get their kids off of the smartphone, or not necessarily off smartphone, out of the house, into the backyard, or looking up, you know, and because kids, they're, you know, even teenagers, short attention span, stuff like that. We're part of, we're that TikTok generation, Instagram generation. just let them, you know, if they have to, use their smartphone, let it control, go do EAA with a Stellina or with a Unistellar or with these other smart telescopes, and let them start, you know, exploring, you know, and opening their eyes up, you know, to some of this stuff. Because to your point, you know, you know, just a couple years ago, this whole, you know, astronomy and AP had this resurgence because we were quarantined. We didn't have anywhere else to go. We didn't have anything else to do, you know. But now that, you know, we're getting back to, you know, somewhat quote unquote normal, you know,
somewhat,
we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't give that up on our, you know, we shouldn't get away from that. We should really encourage parents and families, you know, if you want your kids to do something more than just being in front of a video game console or watching just YouTube or TikTok videos, take them out, you know, maybe purchase one of these items, maybe go camping or do something else and let them see the night sky.
Dan, maybe this is maybe a crazy idea here, but as you said, we definitely want to give back. How many people that are living in the city have really never ever seen a Bortle 2 sky?
That's true.
How would it be that if we've got, say, we give the funds to an astronomy club with the idea that this has to go to maybe somebody that would say, okay, maybe reach out to somebody in the city that's never really been out to a Bortle 2 skies, just to come out to a star party and just say, hey, come out and just take a look at how really beautiful the night sky really is at a Bortle 2.
That might be a good idea.
I don't know how that can be arranged, but something like that would be spectacular.
Yeah. I mean,
with the way things keep going right now with light pollution and, you know, and everybody just in these clusters of cities and stuff like that where you can't see anything except the moon and maybe the planets. And sometimes people don't know when they look up at the night sky and they see an object in the sky, they may think it's a star, but it's actually one of the planets. You know, they just don't know. You know, they don't have that opportunity of that, you know, to be educated in that type of stuff. All
I know is that, you know, social distancing has been done great for me, and I'm going to continue to do it because, you know what, I'm less stressed now. So that being said, we are at 20 after 10 right now.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time here today.
Yeah, I mean, Russ, we usually do a Jerry's final thought kind of thing. You know, so at the end of the show, so we usually go around and end with the guests. So we'll go Peter and work our way around. Peter, Eric, Scott, and then yourself, and then we go to bed. So, so Pete, what do you got?
Russell, seriously, thank you very much for coming on the show. And believe me, it's an open invitation. Love to have you on as many times as you like. Everybody that comes on the show really just loves our format. It's just a very informal, just a very, you know, quick Q&A. But as I said, with what you brought to the table here, there's been a lot of keen interest in it. And sincerely, thank you very much for taking me up on my offer to come on. And to that, I owe you a gratitude. Eric, Scott, Dan, as always, a pleasure. Enjoy kind of coming out and hanging out here. It's a great way to spend a Friday afternoon and Friday evening. But always great times, guys. And I'm sure our viewer membership enjoyed as well. I noticed one thing tonight. We didn't go off the rails. Did you notice that?
I know.
I almost did, though. We almost did.
A couple of times. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah, we were on the edge of the fence. Now, instead of off the rails, I'm going to have another program that's called On the Fence. And I'm going to press so we'll have a guy teetering on a picket fence. That's it. But Eric, what do you got, bro?
Yeah. No, again, Russell, thank you. I'm echoing what Pete's saying. Thank you so much for joining us. I know our viewers really, really appreciate it. You know, you taking your time out and sharing, Star Exterminator, Grading Exterminator and Noise Exterminator. And we can't wait to see what the new version is going to be coming out, going to come and again, come back and join us. Again, to all of our viewers, thank you guys so much. Thank you for your questions. It makes things a lot easier for us.
Yes, it does.
When you guys are shooting out some awesome questions. So we really appreciate, everybody's participation, and have a great weekend in clear skies. Yeah.
Hey, Scott's a man of little words.
I can only echo what my fellow brothers have said. I mean, I really appreciate you coming out and sharing with us. And I'm definitely looking forward to the next time we get together. And to kind of echo with what we were talking about with the kids, most people have something like this. Most people have a phone. There are some absolutely phenomenal apps that you can get for this phone that allow you to stare up at the sky and move around and point at objects, and it'll tell you exactly what you're looking at. This is a phenomenal way to get your kids interested. Just starting out, all you got to do is download the app right on the App Store, right there on your phone or your tablet.
Yeah, and that's one of the easiest things to do, because that's one of the first things you want to teach. You want to teach your kids if you want to get them interested in astronomy and astrophotography. Teach them the night sky first, right off the bat. Just teach them. Give them.
There you go.
Give them that app and let them learn the night sky.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's Star Walk 2, by the way. And
very good.
It's
awesome.
Very cheap. So.
All right, Russ.
Cool.
Final thought from you.
Well, Dan, Pete, Eric, Scott, I want to thank you guys for having me on. It was a pleasure and an honor, and I had a great time, and I'd be happy to do it again sometime.
Awesome. I'll keep it short and sweet. Trust me. I know we're running up on 2.5 hours, so it's a little bit longer of a show than what we're used to. But we appreciate you coming on and spending your time with us. So thank you so much. But final thought for me, everybody. Remember, don't forget, we're going to have the giveaway. We had a question on the giveaway for Russell and Russell's plugins. It'll be on tomorrow evening, somewhere in the nighttime after I get home from work. I'll throw it up there and sign up for it. We'll give it away on Russell's return somewhere in September or whenever he has the time, because I know he's working really hard making our hobby time easier. So thank you, Russ. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And one more final thought. Next Wednesday, don't forget the Eagle giveaway. Sign up. I want 100 people to sign up for that. We got 16 to go. So let's get on that. So everybody, have a good night. Have a great and safe weekend. Show your kids the stars. Buy Russell CROMAN's plugins because they're awesome. And as always, remember, keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And we'll see you Wednesday night. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.